October 28, 2025, 4 suspected drug boats sit miles off Venezuela's coast. In under an hour, United States helicopters and drones strike fast, leaving 14 dead in the largest operation of an unprecedented anti-trafficking surge. Washington declares success. Caracas calls it an attack, but why did this mission escalate into a regional crisis? And what secrets lie beneath the official justification? From September to late October 2025, U.S. military operations against suspected drug trafficking boats accelerated across the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. In just 2 months, American forces launched 22 separate strikes targeting vessels linked by intelligence to Venezuelan criminal groups and their regional partners. This rapid tempo far outpaced previous years, with each incident mapped along shifting maritime corridors that now stretch well beyond the Caribbean, deep into Pacific routes favored by traffickers aiming to reach North America. The October 27th strike stands out for its scale. 4 boats were destroyed in a single coordinated operation, resulting in 14 deaths, the highest one-day toll of the campaign. No other incident in the surge matched the intensity or immediate impact of this engagement. According to campaign analysts, the clustering of strikes in the Eastern Pacific reflects a tactical adaptation by both sides. Cartels, under pressure from crackdowns closer to Venezuela's shores, have rerouted shipments through longer, less monitored passages. The U.S. response has followed, shifting resources and surveillance assets to intercept these new flows before they near Central American or Mexican coastlines. An analyst at Insight Crime calls it a cat-and-mouse escalation, with traffickers exploiting gaps in regional enforcement and U.S. forces relying on rapid, intelligence-driven strikes. The surge's footprint is visible on campaign maps, tracing a westward migration of smuggling activity. These patterns reveal not only the evolving tactics of criminal networks, but also the growing willingness of the U.S. to project military power far from traditional patrol zones. The October 27th operation, with its record casualties and international fallout, became a defining moment in this ongoing maritime contest. At 04:37 hours on October 27, U.S. surveillance drones tracked 4 small, fast-moving boats slicing through the Eastern Pacific, well outside any territorial waters. Intelligence flagged the vessels for suspected links to Venezuelan criminal groups, prompting Joint Interagency Task Force South to authorize immediate interdiction. Within minutes, Navy helicopters, primarily MH-60R Seahawks, closed in, shadowed above by MQ-9 Reaper drones transmitting live video and targeting data back to Southern Command. The air crews followed established warning fire protocol, loudspeaker commands in Spanish, then flashing lights, and finally bursts of 50 caliber tracer rounds fired across the bows. According to after-action notes, 2 boats attempted to flee, accelerating and weaving, while the others slowed but did not comply. One survivor later described the roar of rotors and the sudden eruption of gunfire as panic swept the crews. The helicopter shifted from warning shots to direct engagement after the boats failed to stop and made what officials called hostile maneuvers. Within a 5-minute window, 3 vessels were destroyed by combined helicopter and drone fire, engines disabled, hulls breaking apart, debris scattered across the surface. The 4th boat, set ablaze, drifted before sinking. Drones documented the sequence, capturing both the initial warning shots and the aftermath. Only 1 person was reported alive, seen clinging to wreckage by both US and Mexican search teams. A maritime interdiction expert later explained that in high-velocity open ocean chases, attempts at boarding or prolonged warning can be impossibly dangerous, leading to the compressed timeline and rapid escalation seen here. The entire operation, from first contact to the last radioed search grid, lasted less than an hour, leaving 14 dead and a single survivor whose account would become critical in the days that followed. Requests for physical and digital evidence from the October 27th operation have so far yielded little beyond official statements and tightly edited video clips. No salvage logs have been made public. The U.S. Southern Command has not released photographs of recovered drugs, weapons, or even personal effects from the destroyed boats. Unlike earlier operations in the Caribbean, where Dominican authorities documented cocaine seizures and provided chain of custody records, there is no comparable documentation for this specific strike. Satellite imagery from commercial providers fails to confirm the presence of contraband or armed personnel on the targeted vessels before their destruction. Open source tracking sites show no automatic identification system data for the boats in question, a common trait for unregistered or covert craft, but also a factor that complicates independent verification. Mexican Navy search and rescue teams who responded after the strike have not published any findings or debris inventories. Non-governmental organizations and advocacy groups have filed formal requests for access to forensic reports, survivor testimony, and identification of the deceased. As of mid-November, U.S. authorities have not responded to these inquiries. Human Rights Watch senior counsel summarized the situation. Without evidence, names, or repatriation, the risk of civilian casualties rises. Only an independent, transparent inquiry can ensure accountability. The absence of physical proof, no salvage data, no satellite confirmation, and no third-party inspection has fueled doubts about the validity of the targets and the true nature of the operation. This evidence gap stands in stark contrast to the government's claims and has become a central point of contention for legal advocates and international observers. A classified legal memo from the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel became the backbone of Washington's public defense. The document, withheld from public scrutiny and only summarized in closed congressional briefings, asserted that United States forces could treat cartel-linked vessels as combatants if intelligence established ties to designated terrorist organizations. This doctrine, according to legal scholars, stretched the limits of international law. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, foreign vessels in international waters are generally protected from interference unless piracy or hot pursuit from territorial waters can be proven. In this case, neither condition was met. Venezuela's foreign ministry reacted within hours, issuing a diplomatic note denouncing the strike as naked aggression and demanding an emergency session at the Organization of American States. Caracas argued that the United States had committed extrajudicial killings, violating both sovereignty and human rights norms. These claims quickly gained traction at the United Nations, where the High Commissioner for Human Rights warned of a dangerous precedent for the use of lethal force at sea without transparent evidence or due process. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers from both parties pressed the administration for clarity. Senators demanded the release of the classified Office of Legal Counsel opinion and questioned the lack of physical evidence linking the destroyed boats to narcotics or terrorism. Congressional letters cited the risk of setting a standard where intelligence alone, shielded from public review, could justify deadly force far from United States shores. Legal experts interviewed by major networks pointed out that the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea does not authorize summary destruction of civilian boats absent a clear, imminent threat. The absence of physical proof and the reliance on secret intelligence have left the operation's legal foundation in doubt, fueling calls for independent review as the diplomatic standoff deepens. Grieving families in Venezuela have begun to speak out, searching for answers in the silence left by the October 27th strike. Names of the 14 killed remain withheld by U.S. authorities, fueling uncertainty and fear among relatives who say their loved ones vanished at sea. Human rights organizations have gathered testimonies from parents and siblings who insist their missing kin were not criminals, but fishermen earning a living along the coast. Diaspora organizations echo these claims, reporting dozens of inquiries from communities in Sucre and Nueva Esparta. Some families have submitted official requests for repatriation and identification, but so far no responses have come from Washington or military channels. Advocacy groups warn that without confirmation or acknowledgement, the dead remain anonymous, statistics on a government tally rather than sons or brothers lost to a distant conflict. Each unanswered name deepens the sense of injustice, leaving families to mourn in the dark. Venezuelan Naval Command responded within hours of the U.S. operation, issuing deployment orders that sent additional patrol ships and maritime patrol aircraft into expanded sectors of the Caribbean and adjacent waters. Defense Ministry communiques recorded a surge in activity. 6 more Navy vessels and over 80 air sorties were logged in the 2 weeks following the strike, compared to just 41 in the previous period. Satellite imagery from late October confirmed the repositioning of corvettes and missile frigates to forward bases near Caracas and Puerto La Cruz, while official statements described round-the-clock vigilance and integrated radar sweeps. Regional security analysts noted that these deployments stretched Venezuela's patrol zones westward, increasing the risk of encounters with U.S. or partner assets. Advocacy groups and international observers began pressing for independent monitoring, warning that the heightened military presence and lack of accountability could trigger further incidents or accidental clashes in contested waters. Today, every strike along these contested waters risks igniting a broader conflict as U.S. operations and Venezuela's military buildup both escalate. Maritime law collides with power politics. In the shadows of drug wars, the line between enforcement and provocation grows thin, and the world is watching. Share your thoughts below.